think it does. Basically, with the social work degree, it's considered a practice degree. So the program is 2 years long, and each year you have a different field practicum. So it's about 2 years experience once you leave the program. Basically, they want students to practice their social work skills, practice being a professional social worker. So in all, I think it does prepare you very well for the real world. But my two favorites were mental health, when you got to learn about all the diagnoses in the DSM-4, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, as you would know, and my psychopharmacology class. I took that my last semester of my last year in the program. It was probably the most difficult class I've ever taken in my life, but the coolest at the same time. So those are my two favorite classes. But it also depends on what track you're into. So each student has a different track within the field of social work. My track was direct practice with mental health as my background. So my classes were more towards mental health, whereas other students have children, youth, and families, community organizing and social administration groups, and family practices. So mine was strictly mental health. Full-time, I'm just speaking for full-time students. I don't know what it's like for a part-time student, but for a full-time student, your first semester, you have, I believe, 16 to 20 hours worth of a field placement on top of going to school full-time, so that's 15 credits. And because you're in a grad program, you have mass amounts of reading to do. I wouldn't recommend to any student working full-time, and the program, I remember, them saying not to do a full-time job. Part-time was the most I could do, and that was about 10 hours a week. And one was being the graduate assistant in the admissions office. I liked talking to prospective social work students and sometimes their families. I enjoyed being in the higher ed atmosphere, which actually led me to my job here. And I just really liked knowing the ins and outs of not only the master's program, but the bachelor's program too. So it was a really interesting experience for me to kind of have a different take on the school of social work, not just as a student, but almost as like a staff member too. The second best experience I had within the social work school was being the student and executive council president. I got to really get involved in more things than just going to school and participating in class. We got to organize really great events for all social work students and the baccalaureate students as well. And I got to do a lot of networking, which was always really nice. I was always an overachiever, so I really liked doing all those things. But definitely those two experiences actually shaped me and helped me get the job I'm at right now. Social work is a practice degree, so you have to go out there and practice your social work skills that you learn inside the classroom. I had 2 field placements. One was at Western Psychiatric Institute and Clinic in their adolescent partial hospitalization program. Basically, I was working with teens with emotional and behavioral issues. That was a real eye-opener because it was just the most intense thing to work with students who were students, who were going through a lot of life problems, a lot of things that you don't see with a lot of other kids their age, so it was really interesting to help and get full-on hands-on experience with that. My second field placement was a really competitive one, so I felt really fortunate to have gotten it. I was working at the VA healthcare system with the Homemaker Home Health Aid program, doing assessments mostly for World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, and Vietnam veterans, helping them get in-home services if they were homebound. We kept them in the home instead of shipping them off to a nursing home, which was really nice. Got a job 2 or 3 weeks prior to graduation, so I started working right after, or literally right after my classes were done, so I didn't even have a break. But it was a really good opportunity for me to get into social work. My passion was never really as a social worker. It was really more for working in higher education and using my networking abilities, and because of all the networking I did when I was in the school of social work, I was able to get my dream job here at Pitt, working in advising, which is what I wanted to do from the start. everyone gets their degrees for different reasons. People wanted to be therapists, people wanted to be in charge of organizations. I really wanted to learn the skills that would make me a good advisor. So I did land my dream job, and I'm really happy.